Good evening. Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we explore and discuss paranormal phenomena and sometimes go out and actively explore it. I'm your host, Keith Johnson, and my co-host, Sandra Johnson, unfortunately, is not with us this evening because she's home watching our son. But hi, Sandra. I'll see you when I get home. And we have some very special guests with us this evening. Two very good friends of mine, Deb Vickers and Sue Vickery.
Hi, Keith. Hey.
And they are the Lizzie Borden Tour Guide Investigations. It's what they do. And there's a special reason why they have that name. And please explain to us, Deb and Sue, why you go by Lizzie Borden Tour Guide Investigations.
Well, we've been there.
Yes.
We actually, we worked at the Lizzie Borden House as tour guides for 15 years. And we started this before we left, actually. So yeah, we just thought it would be a great name. You know, we had been at Lizzie's for so long. We're no longer there, unfortunately. Right. But we, yeah, we're still Lizzie Borden Tour Guide.
I mean, the paranormal activity at Lizzie's drew us in, and we wanted to just expand it and see what else is out there and other famous haunted, historic locations especially.
Right. Well, probably when you go back there, everything starts up again, right? Because you're recognized.
Yep.
Leave your own memories there and everything. And many of you may remember that Deb and Sue, we did a show with them at the Lizzie Borden House. It was actually a two-part show, investigating the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast at the time. And that was very fascinating. And we did get some activity there. Yep. We did get activity, the orb when you folded your hands while talking. And we didn't see that with the naked eye.
Right.
And it did come out on camera. And it was not a flash or an insect or anything. We analyzed it. And no, it actually is a real orb because that place is loaded with energy. And so you were the tour guides at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast for many years. And of course, we fondly remember our blessed dear friend, Leanne Wilbur, was the proprietor for their many years. And we, of course, we remember her very, very fondly and all the kind things she did and how much she brought that place to life. And
yeah, she was amazing. She was just an amazing person to work for, an amazing person to have as a friend.
Yeah.
And she just did such a beautiful job of running that home. You know, she made everyone a family. You know, we all became a Lizzie family, and we still, you know, right. We're all together still. You know, that was her legacy. That's what she left us, was our Lizzie family.
Right.
So
probably some people have the misconception that anybody who runs a house like that or works at a house like that would be a very morbid, gloomy person, have a gloomy personality, but not at all. And no, Leanne was just the opposite. You people are just the opposite, very lively, and you love going on investigations and seeing historic places.
Yeah. So Leanne was very fascinating person to talk to.
She was.
I never seen anybody accomplish so much in such a short lifetime.
She really had the passion and the enthusiasm for it.
Been everywhere, did everything.
Exactly, exactly. Including early career as a truck driver cross country.
Oh, she maintained that license. She could have gone back anytime.
Wonderful. That was wonderful. And an actress too.
Actress, yeah.
And that's how she and I met.
World traveler.
Yeah. So tell us about your YouTube show, Lizzie Borden Tour Guides.
Right, so what we do is we mix it up a little bit. So we do some Lizzie things, we do a lot of paranormal, we do history, and we also branch off a little bit into true crime. So the true crime aspect, we do it a little bit differently. So we sit down and we tell the story. We always try to interview like the lead detectives that were on the case to get their perspective, and then we go out and we try to communicate with the victims because we want to give them a voice. So that's how we do that. A little bit different, but
that's very fascinating. I've seen that where you go out and interview those people who are actually involved. You know, you're not just telling the story of what happened, like history. You're actually going out there on the scene, which is very, very fascinating. Very interesting.
Well, even when we did Elisa Lamb, we had somebody on the scene.
Yeah, we actually had somebody in California
you were
at
on,
the Cecil Hotel. So
you're doing a broadcast with somebody who was actually out there. Yeah, that was an interesting case.
It was.
Very
It was
interesting.
I don't think that was ever, well, it's never been totally solved.
No, I don't
So
think
many
it was
loose
solved
ends.
properly anyway.
Yeah. And I felt it was just so terrible how she passed. And I know how she passed, I just don't know why.
I know.
Yeah,
It's so
that's
sad.
the mystery.
Yeah,
I mean, there's theories, but nothing's been proven.
right. I think they'll get some, eventually open up some more leads there.
Yeah.
Because people just don't keep it quiet. There's probably some people who wish they'd keep it quiet, but
Yeah.
Exactly.
so, and speaking of that, you did the, of course, you did the, you've been to Maplecroft, obviously. You've been tour guides at Maplecroft for quite some time.
Yes, I was the caretaker there for Leanne and Donald, and up
Yep.
until this past week when it finally sold.
Yep. Now, for those of our audience who are not familiar with what Maplecroft actually is, could you explain that, please?
Sure. Maplecroft was actually Lizzie Borden's home that her and her sister Emma purchased after the murders, after she was acquitted.
Yes.
You've heard the story. She always wanted to live up on the hill, the good
Yes.
life. So that was her home on the hill. It became her sanctuary, almost
Right.
like a prison at times for her. She wasn't met with kindness there.
No.
But she did have some good friends and relatives and some good times, and she got to travel. And you've never been, have you?
No,
No.
unfortunately.
But your brother Carl, I've taken
Right.
him in there a couple of
he
times.
He didn't let me know. He didn't.
No, I'm
so-
sorry, not my doing.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, very active. Her spirit is there.
You believe her spirit is there?
I know it is. She speaks. Yeah.
Now, do you think, what about the activity at the Lizzie Borden house itself?
Mostly I get Andrew, Abby. We've gotten the maid Bridget come through in an
Oh, yeah.
Irish accent. Is Bridget always there? No. Andrew and Abby are always there.
They're always there. Yeah.
Emma has come
Emma
through.
comes and goes. Lizzie comes and goes as well. And then there are other children that are up on the 3rd floor. I think we talked about them when we did
Yes.
your show
And we did
as
get
well.
activity up there, too.
Yeah, the children's mother is in the house. But again, they're not always there, those children.
Right. Now, in Maplecroft, Emma actually moved out. Her sister, Emma, moved out shortly afterwards because she didn't like the social atmosphere there? Or?
Well, Emma moved
I know that's
in
speculation.
together with Elizabeth in 1889 and moved out in 1905, so she stayed 6 years.
Okay, yeah.
Her reasoning for moving out, no one knows that. We
Right.
can only speculate.
Right.
I look at it this way. I couldn't live with one of my siblings. I mean, they're totally different women, 9 years apart in age. I think
Yeah.
they just had different personalities that didn't mesh under the same roof.
Right. And what have people experienced in Maplecroft? I know you've been there quite a bit, so you've experienced a lot there.
Oh, yeah.
People have gotten touched. Sue actually got touched in the upstairs bathroom when she was
Yeah.
putting up the shower curtain, remember?
Oh, yeah, I was standing on
Yeah.
a chair hanging a
It's
shower
in the
curtain.
bathroom. You get touched in the bathroom.
Well, I was...
It was on her-
disturbing
I
place
think it
to-
was on
We
your
were
shoulder.
preparing the house to open, so I was actually hanging a shower curtain up.
Yeah.
So I was standing on this chair near the tub.
Well, that sounds
and
precarious, you know.
Well, and that's what happened. I felt a hand touch the back of my leg.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like somebody was trying to push me off the
No.
chair. It felt more like somebody was actually trying to steady me on the
Right.
chair.
Oh, really? So,
Yeah.
so you didn't scream? You know?
No, I actually, it didn't bother me at all.
Good.
I didn't feel like I was being threatened at all. It just was more helpful than anything.
Good.
And you'll hear a woman giggle sometimes. Well, I've
Yeah.
heard the woman giggle. We hear footsteps quite frequently there as well. So it's pretty active.
Yeah, she spoke in midair my first time walking through there.
Oh.
Yeah, I was walking through the dining room and I heard a woman say, hello? Like questioningly, hello. It wasn't, hello. It
Yeah,
was more
right.
like a question, hello? Somebody here?
neat.
That sort of thing. Yeah. So I ran out and got the spirit box so I could hear it better and turn that thing on.
Right.
And yeah, she communicates through the spirit box.
Now, another very famous house that you've been to recently and actually did an overnight there, what's known as the Conjuring House, the Round Top Road Farmhouse,
Yes.
which I am very familiar with.
Yeah.
What did you experience there?
We got a lot of spirit communication.
We did, mostly EVP, but it was funny because the first time we went, Corey just gave us like a little private tour.
Yeah.
And I decided to make a small little teaser episode out of that. And we were only in there like maybe 45 minutes. And I ran the voice recorder I got 23 EVPs in 45 minutes.
23,
And
wow.
most of them were so clear. You know, there was an older man, a younger man, an older woman, and a younger woman that I got the EVP from. And then in the overnight, it was the same thing. We got, remember, they didn't, I don't think they liked us for some reason, because when we were down in the basement, remember we, she keeps saying it's me. We got one that said.
Well, you didn't like the snakeskins.
The snakes, no.
I love the snakeskins. But anyway, so a man goes, "Why'd you go back to Lizzie's?"
But
just
he was
like
talking
that.
to her.
He was talking to me, thanks too. Why'd you go back
But
to
not just
Lizzie's?
EVPs. Christy from the Oliver House. Have you been there?
No, no.
Oh my gosh, you have to
it's
check
on
out
my,
the
on my
Oliver.
list.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Do that. Well, the caretaker there, tour guide caretaker, joined us. And she had this, what was it, a plasma box?
Yep, the plasma
the
box.
echoey box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, at one point, we're sitting in the room where...
Yeah, I recognized her from your episode of the Oliver House.
Yeah, we were sitting there, you know, all the guests were in the same room. We had her device running, and we were playing a little game where each of us would say a word, and the spirit would say the opposite.
Oh, really?
Well, it was working all the way around the
Yeah.
room. Like I would say small.
I remember that you were
and
doing
the
that.
spirit saying tall. You know, you'd say the opposite. Then it got to Deb. She said a word, and his response was, "Go back to Lizzie." So I said, "Oh, they're reading your sweatshirt."
So we had our Lizzie sweatshirts on.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then
That's
she
very
counted where she would leave out a number, and then she said, "What, you know, you tell me what number I skipped," and the guy goes, "Skip 2," which
Yeah.
was what she skipped.
Yeah, she went 1, 3, 4, 5. He
Yeah.
said skip 2.
I remember the skip. Yeah.
Yeah. So very good responses.
Almost like a psychological test. It was like.
Oh, out on the backyard. Have you ever experienced this there? We were standing behind the house and we saw this odd-shaped light, almost like a lantern-shaped light, in the woods, in the back of the property.
Right, I remember you saw that. I have not experienced that there.
Yeah, it was odd.
But you said it was like a lantern
It came,
and it was
and
moving
I
towards
thought
you.
maybe somebody had the lantern.
Yeah.
But no, then it came out of the woods and it was just that light, moved right across, went over the wall toward the little cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that was kind of like, was that like at daybreak, just before daybreak, or was that at night?
That was
I think it was night.
nighttime,
It was
maybe
still
8 o'clock,
night before.
8:30-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember you were in the backyard just at daybreak.
Yeah, no, this would have been earlier on.
Right. Yep. No, I haven't experienced
Yeah,
that.
that was pretty cool.
That's interesting.
The scariest thing to me, though, was when Corey said, be careful, there's a 5-foot snake in the basement that I lost.
Yeah, right.
So that's all I could think about that.
Yeah.
Yes, who doesn't like snakes? I was excited. I was actually disappointed because I didn't get to see him. I was hoping
I
to
know
see
a
him.
previous owner of that house came downstairs and she checking the boiler and it was like a 5-foot snake. I wonder if it's the same,
Oh,
coiled
my
around the
gosh.
top of the boiler. I
No,
wonder if
sir,
it's the
yeah.
same one.
Oh, wow.
Wow, could have been.
That is so out in the country and everything like
yeah.
that. It is kind of a breeding ground. So.
Yeah.
Did you get much sleep that night?
No, I didn't sleep at all. We stayed up the whole night.
You didn't want to miss anything.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. So,
Excuse me.
one very interesting place you've been to, which I very much like, is Precious Blood Cemetery in Woonsocket. And you actually went
That's
to La
amazing.
Petite Rose's house, too, or the
Yes.
museum anyway. You went to the museum.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
tell us about your experiences there in Precious Blood Cemetery in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Yeah, that was very different for us. We actually we got a few EVPs in French in that cemetery. Yeah. So not quite sure what they said, but Deb had brought out this light up ghost thing, is that what it was? A light up ghost. And
It was around Halloween, right?
it was.
It was. That,
And we got our EVP, and when I looked it up, it was spirit or ghost in French that they had said. So that was pretty cool.
and they
Yeah.
were lighting it up, so
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
But that was,
And then her Little Rose's Castle. Oh, what an amazing place.
Yeah.
Have you been?
No, I haven't. I've been by it. I haven't been in
They
it.
have her little bed where she suffered in.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then we got, I was recording in there. We couldn't do any filming inside, which was fine. And I
Right.
had the voice recorder running, and as we were walking, someone said Lizzie. And we didn't have our Lizzie shirts on because we didn't want to be disrespectful to Little Rose with anything, you know. So she said Lizzie, which was very odd. So Spirit, they know, I think, where we come from. And then we got outside, and the wonderful little man that worked there, he was showing us that all of a sudden on the back wall in the courtyard, these little miniature roses, little roses grew, and he was telling us about it. And I left the voice recorder running. I said, I don't think I'm going to get that much because of the traffic, and it was pretty loud out there, but I did, and I listened, and I heard, Rose.
No.
She came through. So that was amazing to me. She was an amazing woman.
Now, for people who might not be familiar with who she actually was actually a Rhode Island stigmatist.
Yes.
She did have the wounds of Christ, of the Passion. And she was born in Canada. In a manger.
And she lived in Fall River, for a while before they moved to Woonsocket.
Yeah,
so
and she developed a severe case, I believe it was rheumatoid arthritis, but a very, very crippling.
Extreme case,
I mean, she was in constant pain, constant pain.
Lost the use of her hands.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's odd because almost every case we do, something comes back to the Bordens. So we found out that little Rose had a little beach house right near where the Bordens had their summer home in Swansea. So was it someone, a friend of yours, right, was telling us that? So little Rose probably knew Lisbeth at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
And she founded her own order, right? She actually became a nun.
She's amazing.
People see photos of her. It looks like she's got bandages, cloth around her head, but it's actually a nun's habit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did found her own order. And suffered a great deal, but she is buried there. And I believe people do make pilgrimages as far away as Canada. They come down to see her grave.
Yes, there was a lot around her grave. People had left asking for prayers, different things like that.
Yes, I've heard there's actually been healings there.
Yes, yes. That's what I meant, not prayers, asking for healings.
Well, yeah, intervention.
She's healed a lot of people even from her grave. So it's amazing.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
I know my mother told me my grandmother had gone to her once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But had met her in real life, or
Yes.
just really?
Yes.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah. And of course, she was a candidate for sainthood. She was going to be canonized. But
I think they're still working on that.
yeah. Usually takes quite a few years anyway. But became a Rhode Islander. So
Yeah.
yeah. So you, speaking about true crime, you investigated the case of Jeffrey Mailot.
We did. That
Yeah,
was
tell us
a
about
very
that.
interesting case. I'd always been fascinated with that. We did have some of the victims come through. And it's funny when I do these when we do these cases, I get messages all the time from people that knew him, and we actually I didn't get a chance to interview her, but the girl who actually escaped and was able to turn him in. But he was a real serial killer. You know, he I guess he used to cut them up in his bathtub because he didn't know how to dispose of the bodies, but he got the idea from watching The Sopranos.
Oh,
and
really?
so
Wow.
what happened was the bodies were dispersed all over the city into the dumpsters. So when they wanted to go back and they wanted to find the bodies, the police officers actually had to go through the landfill, and they had to open all of these bags. But some of the girls were never found. So
He seemed to have like almost like a double personality, didn't he? Like he was, I think he was diagnosed bipolar. I'm not sure what he was diagnosed, but he had some disorder where he seemed to be two different people at times.
yeah, he was very orderly. Like we got to speak with the CSI guy that went in that
Yes, you
did
did
all the
interview
crime
him
scene
and-
investigating, and one of the lead detectives. And they said the thing with him was that he was extremely orderly. He would go into his apartment, like all of his videotapes were alphabetized, his photos were everything was perfect. Like you wouldn't know you were in a serial killer's house. It was that perfect. And he was, you know, well liked around the town.
Sang karaoke.
Yeah. And
Rode his motorcycle with friends. Yeah.
Everyone that knew him, you know, really liked him. He was a good guy. And then, but he said there was this part of him that was so dark, and he would just snap. And that kind of makes you wonder about the area. Now, I know a few things about the area where he moved to, and this behavior didn't start until he moved there. And I've gone there and I've seen shadow figures, and I know someone else who lived there and had some pretty bad things happen. So sometimes you almost wonder too, was it the area that could have caused that? We don't know.
You think something in his personality may have been influenced by that area?
By something that was there. You know, I mean, because you look back, we always look back to the beginning to see how they started. He never had any childhood trauma. He had a great childhood. There was nothing that you could see that could have triggered something like that. So it was interesting.
Someone could have been sitting at a bar, having a drink with them, socializing, and just wouldn't have known anything.
Yeah, and he strangled the girls. He would take them back to his apartment, and that's how he would kill them. He would strangle them.
They did just dig up some bodies right across the street from his house, too.
We went back and did an episode on that. That was, yeah,
It's an old cemetery. Supposedly everyone had been exhumed and put somewhere else. But we just, didn't we get an EVP or something that said that somebody was buried there? There was a body there.
Greg was talking about the other spot. He said, we don't know if there's anybody underneath where the old ice house used to be.
Yeah.
And we got home and we listened to it and we couldn't believe it. There was a voice and the guy goes, dig deep.
Dig deep.
Wow.
Dig deep.
Just like that, dig deep.
Well, they did,
So,
and they found bodies. I don't think they were related to the serial killer.
No.
But you never know
No.
if he put anybody in there, too, because they didn't exhume the whole area.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So there's probably bodies or pieces of bodies.
There very well could be.
there's more,
there.
I think, and more underneath the house as well.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
amazing. And you know what is really, really good about that, like we were talking about before, that you went and actually talked to the investigator, and you got that side of it,
Right.
too.
Yep.
Somebody who's actually experienced in it.
Well, I like to be fair. I like to show everybody's side. I like to show, you know, the victim's side. I like to hear from the detectives. I like to show the side of the person that committed the crimes. Just to be fair, I feel like you need to show it from all angles. So,
And I think that part of your personality really helped with the Lizzie Borden tours. Because you both, you know, even though nobody obviously is around who was involved in that, 1892, but you do know so much about it that you can probably come to some very well-educated conclusions yourself.
Yeah, possibly, but we like to lay out the facts and let other people come to their own conclusions.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Were you always interested in like true crime and stories like that?
I was. Oh,
me
gosh,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I used to
Yeah.
play at Lizzie's grave when I was little. My dad was
Did you?
my dad was a major crimes homicide detective. So
Wow.
he used to come home. The cult murders, one of our episodes, the 4 of the cult murders. My dad was involved in that a little bit, but I remember him coming home, talking about things all the time. So it always captured my interest.
And that's something that we have in common because my family used to make an annual, I wouldn't say pilgrimage, but we make an annual visit to the Lizzie Borden Cemetery at Oak Grove in Fall River. And we drive by the house because it wasn't open for tours back then.
No.
But we'd always drive by the house and we'd have a picnic in the cemetery. I know it sounds terrible.
No, Deb and I did.
no, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
We picnic with the Bordens.
Yep.
Like mites. Yeah.
Just make sure you get out of there before they lock the gates.
Actually, we did not one day. The police had to let us out.
Yeah,
were
we got locked in.
The cop was laughing. He's like, "This is a first for me."
Oh, really? These things do happen. No, that's dedication. That's dedication. You want to be there after dark. But, you know, my family, my mother's side of the family, a lot of them are buried right next to the Bordens.
Oh, right next to him? Yeah.
Well, almost right next to them. If you look over, like, kind of like this little hill there, you can see them. There's the Greens, the Places, the Darlings. So next time you go there, you'll see those names. That's my mother's family.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah. So, you know, it was a family visit, and we'd travel so long, we just had a little snack there and everything like that. So it wasn't really a morbid thing.
Yeah.
But,
No, I have family in there as well. I've seen the green. There's a big rock green that had green.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my mother's family.
Oh, is it?
I didn't know them,
nice.
but yeah.
Oh, wow.
I did know the Place family.
They're buried actually right next to Lizzie Borden's lawyer, Andrew Jennings. His grave
Really?
is right by there as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know, my grandfather lived in Fall River at the time of the murders. He lived to be 93, so he could tell us stories and everything. He was kind of young to remember the actual homicides. 1892, he was like not quite 5 years old,
Right.
but he certainly remembered the aftermath. Remember, you know, the investigations and
Oh,
how
wow.
she was talked about in Fall River. Yes. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had family dating back in the city that far back as well.
really,
Yes. My grandmother, though, anytime I would ask her, she lived to be 98, by the way.
Oh, really?
But anytime, started Alzheimer's near the end. But before that, she got too far away, I would ask her some questions, but she always refused to talk about it. Didn't ever want to talk about Lizzie Borden. What do you want to talk about her for?
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost like she had that attitude the city had, like, didn't want to talk about hush hush. We don't talk about things like that.
Yeah, well, my grandfather loved to talk about
Really?
Because, you know, he's very Yankee. You know, he owned a store in Providence, in a grocery store, Broad Street, and Park Market and Grocery. And most likely H.P. Lovecraft would come in there and chat with him because we were all related. You know, he was related to my grandfather. So
cool.
You know, when you dig deep, see, like, everything's connected.
Yeah.
Like you were just saying, everything is connected. And
Yeah, it is.
Find out and everything. So.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So recently you were at Plymouth.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful place.
Oh my
Plymouth.
gosh.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places to visit.
Yeah.
The history
1620.
there.
1620.
It's absolutely amazing.
I went there a couple years ago too, right? And I didn't know, but it was the anniversary of when the Plymouth Pilgrims landed.
Really?
So they did a reenactment. It was during COVID, so it wasn't big crowds.
So you
or
went
anything.
there in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got off the ship, they rode a certain way, then they got out and they were all dressed, walking through the ocean to the shore. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was almost like being there.
Yeah. Of course, they have Plymouth Rock there, and
Yeah.
they landed somewhere around there.
Yeah, right around
But
there.
people for centuries have been chiseling away at that, so it's just a little small
Yeah,
thing now that
it is.
it's all fenced off and everything like that.
Yeah, you
But-
can't get at it any longer.
Right. Well, and you went to the oldest cemetery in the country.
Wow, amazing
that
cemetery. You've
is-
been, right?
I haven't been there in years. A long time ago. I was there.
amazing.
I do want to go back there.
Very
I don't get spooked out at very many cemeteries, but that one's a little spooky at night. If you go there at night, it's a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I've never been there at night.
Yeah, it's very.
But I saw you there at night. I saw your
It's
show
creepy.
there. So believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
Oh wow.
We'll definitely have to have you back because you're having more and more adventures wherever you
We
go.
would love to.
Yeah. So what's ahead? What's ahead for the Lizzie Tour Guides there?
Oh, what are we doing next?
Well, we're hoping to maybe do the station nightclub fire. We're thinking of that, so we can talk with Dave. And then I have a case that I worked with my shaman as well. The one your brother came out and helped us. Your brother's great, by the way.
Thank you very much.
He's so
Thank you.
nonchalant. I was sitting there looking at this person, being like, oh, he's just another day in the life. So it was, it was good. So I'm going to probably make an episode out of that as well, and then we'll see from there. I don't know. We have to talk about. We have so many things in our heads that we want to do. We want to go back and work with Greg, who saves the historical cemeteries, and see what he's been up to.
You've worked with
So there's a lot.
Father Bob Bailey.
Father Bob, I absolutely
Father Ed
love.
Broderick.
Yep.
Yeah, both
Father
friends of
Ed.
mine. Yeah.
I mean, they're all amazing. They're just
And they've been on this show too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them?
Yeah,
Yeah, from a big happy family.
Right.
they're all awesome.
Well, anything you want to say before we close up?
You got anything to say, Sue?
So- Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, you're
very
both
welcome.
wonderful.
Thank you for having us.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you for
anytime.
having us.
I'll
This was
definitely
really
have you on
fun.
again.
It was great seeing you again.
Great seeing you. It's always a
Yeah,
pleasure.
amazing.
Always a pleasure. And I like it because you both have that passion for what you do, that enthusiasm and passion. And you have a great sense of humor too. You always have that sense of humor, like your buddies going out there and everything. You don't know
People
what
out there that are so serious. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I've learned not to take ourselves
No,
so
you can't.
seriously, right? Well, again, God bless you. Thank you so much for being on, and we'll have you back again. Hopefully we can